Hello, my name is Ryan Yan, and this is my business plan presentation on Sneakies. Now, Sneakies is a mid-sized athletic footwear manufacturer that produces running shoes, basketball shoes, and training shoes for retail stores and online customers across the United States. In recent times, however, Sneakies has faced major economic challenges. Inflation has increased the cost of rubber, foam cushioning, adhesives, shippings, and utilities, just to name a few. Rising labor costs have also increased manufacturing expenses as wages and overtime costs continue to rise. Additionally, increased interest rates have increased the company's borrowing costs for inventory and equipment financing. All of these factors cumulatively have hit our bottom line hard. In addition to all of this, our competitors have lowered pricing on their signature athletic products that compete directly with Sneakies. However, despite all this, Sneakies has two important advantages: excess manufacturing capacity and the opportunity to automate several key production processes. The CEO of Sneakies has requested my input on specific cost accounting measures to assist in navigating this dilemma. And in this presentation, I will analyze different strategies that can help the company improve profitability and remain competitive during these trying economic times. Firstly, let's address the issue of inflation, labor costs, and interest rates. Inflation directly increases the cost of raw materials, transportations, utilities, and other operating expenses. When inflation rises, companies often struggle to maintain stable pricing due to customers resisting potential price increases. Rising labor costs are also a challenge, as wages, benefits, and overtime expenses can increase total manufacturing costs. Increased borrowing costs and making it more expensive to finance equipment, inventory, and expansion projects. These issues combined can reduce our operating profit and create uncertainty for management. If our competitors are lowering their prices as our costs continue to rise, then we risk losing market share. Therefore, we must utilize cost accounting in order to identify our efficiencies, control spending, and improve our overall decision making. Because of Sneaky's excess manufacturing capacity, we have an opportunity to spread fixed manufacturing costs across a larger number of shoes produced. If demand supports higher sales volumes, increasing production would lower fixed costs per unit and improve Sneaky's abilities to compete against lower price competitors. Additionally, investing in automation could reduce labor dependence, minimize overtime costs, and improve production consistency, which can ultimately lead to lowering total unit costs over time. Now that we understand the tools that we can utilize in order to gain back the competitive edge, we should now go over some cost accounting measures that can help us further achieve these goals. Standard costing is one of the most useful tools available when it comes to controlling production costs. Under a standard costing system, management establishes expected costs for materials, labor, and overhead. Actual results are then compared to these standards to identify variances. For example, Sneakies established a standard material cost of $8 for rubber soles and $5 for foam cushioning in each pair of our running shoes. However, inflation caused actual rubber costs to increase significantly above standard costs. Labor variances also increased over time because overtime wages became necessary to meet seasonal demand. Management can identify these variances in order to identify these problems swiftly and act accordingly. Standard costing can provide several benefits, such as improving control, helping identify inefficiencies quickly, encouraging operational accountability, and supporting pricing decisions. Because of the volatility of inflation, management should update their standards frequently in order to ensure that they remain realistic. Flexible standards based on current market conditions can help managers make more appropriate and effective measures in response to changing economic environments. Next, let us discuss automation and how it can help us improve our operational efficiency. Automation represents one of the strongest opportunities for Sneakies to reduce costs and improve competitiveness. Management has considered using robotic stitching machines, automated packing systems, and AI supported inventory tracking systems. By automating these repetitive production activities, Sneakies can reduce labor expenses, improve product consistency, and increase our overall manufacturing speed. Although the initial upfront cost for automation may seem a bit daunting, the long term savings that we can achieve may outweigh the cost, especially in an environment with rising wages. Automation can also improve the company's ability to compete against lower price competitors because unit costs will go down as our efficiency improves. It is important to note that management must carefully analyze the return on investment before implementing these automation projects. Another cost accounting measure that we can utilize is activity-based costing. Traditional costing systems often allocate overhead using only one factor, such as direct labor hours. However, this method may lead to inaccurate product costs when automation and multiple product lines are involved. Activity-based costing improves that accuracy by assigning overhead costs based on activities that drive costs. For Sneakies, these cost drivers include machine setups, quality inspection, material handling, production runs, just to name a few. Activity-based costing would allow Sneakies to identify the shoe models that are truly profitable and which products consume excessive manufacturing resources. It can also help determine whether lower priced products can still generate acceptable profit margins. In addition to cost accounting measures, the CEO of Sneakies has also requested my input on budgeting techniques to help us plan for multiple scenarios. Because of the volatility of today's economic environment, it is important that we remain diligent in how we choose to budget. Sneakies should aim to adopt budgeting techniques such as flexible budgeting and scenario-based budgeting in order to evaluate best case, expected case, and worst case scenarios. These techniques can allow Sneakies to adjust product levels, manage cash flow more efficiently, and make more informed decisions about automation and capacity utilization under these changing market conditions. Flexible budgeting adjusts costs and revenues based on actual activity levels rather than relying on one fixed estimate. This approach is especially useful when sales demand fluctuates. For example, if we increase production volume, the variable costs such as materials and utilities will also increase. A flexible budget allows management to compare actual results against expected costs at the same activity level, creating more meaningful analysis. Scenario budgeting can be used in order to prepare for multiple economic outcomes. Management can create a best case, expected case, and worst case budget based on different assumptions about inflation, interest rates, and sales demands. This approach helps Sneakies plan pricing strategies and production levels while reducing the risk of unexpected losses if demand declines. The last thing I want to address is the sales and production opportunities that Sneaky has that can improve profitability and strengthen its market position. One key decision is whether to make or buy certain components. A make or buy analysis would compare the relative cost of producing internally versus producing from an outside supplier. If outside suppliers can provide the same quality at a lower variable cost, our company could reduce expenses and focus on its internal capacity on higher value production activities. In order to compete with lower price competition, we could also consider adopting high volume, low margin strategy. By producing and selling at higher volumes, the company can spread fixed manufacturing costs across more units, lowering per unit costs and potentially increasing total operating outcome. Thank you for listening to this presentation and the various strategies that we can utilize in order to improve our profit margins during these economic times.